joy is not something we have to earn. It is ours to claim. Your healing is powerful.
We have to live in joy. We have to look for joy.
So it's very important that you cut ties with trauma. So anything costing you your peace, your joy, you need to cut ties with it.
No one is going to offer you happiness or joy, no matter what the trauma you've been through.
When we have all these experiences, what does joy look like?
Beautiful respite.
Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for being here today. My name is Blessing Osasege, and it's with deep honor I welcome you into this space on behalf of Beautiful Respite.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the lands we are each calling in from. Although this is virtual, we recognize that many of us are joining from lands that carry histories of displacement, colonialism, and ongoing resistance. I'd like to invite you to take a moment to reflect on the indigenous custodians of the land you're on. And if you know their names, to please silently honor them now. We pay respect to Indigenous elders, both past and present, and to the ongoing work of Indigenous communities, protecting culture, land, and sovereignty. May our gathering here today be in solidarity with that resistance, and may it honor the legacies of survival and reclamation that live in our communities. We also want to offer a cultural welcome to everyone here today. This space has been lovingly created for Black migrants, women, and queer survivors of domestic abuse, people whose experiences are too often erased, overlooked, or exploited. In this space here, we say you belong. Breaking free, reclaiming joy after trauma is a space for softness, for truth-telling, for breath and beauty. It's a space to remember that joy is not something we have to earn. It is ours to claim. Your resistance, your existence, your presence, your healing is powerful. Over the next 90 minutes, you'll hear from some of our incredible speakers. We'll experience grounding practices and will be held in community care. This space of care is confidential and non-judgmental. All our guests, all of us here, part of each other's healing. So as you're here, we welcome you. You're not alone, you're seen, and you're held. Before we go further, I would like to tell us some housekeeping guidelines for this event. I would like us to know that the meeting is being recorded, so please be mindful of sensitive information. We have moderators throughout the platforms on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, and on Zoom that would ensure that this is a safe space to speak. Please be mindful and not share personal details. You can have your camera turned off or on. Show up in whatever way feels most comfortable for you. To reduce background noise, I would like to ask that you mute yourself if you're not speaking and allow our guest speakers and facilitators the space to lead the segment without interruption. There'll be opportunity to share comments, thoughts, and questions during the Q&A session. Please feel free to use the chat to reflect, to affirm others, to ask questions. Please stay respectful and let's align with the tone of the event. Let's be gentle, supportive, and open-hearted. This is an inclusive space. There will be no tolerance to discriminatory language, whether that is homophobia, transphobia, racism, ableism, or any form of discrimination. It's not required that anyone should participate by speaking. Listening is a form of participation too. If you do need any form of support during this program, please send us a DM and our moderators will provide as much as we can. This is a gentle space. If you need to leave at any time, you're welcome to leave and return when you're ready. This is also a no judgment zone. We're here to witness and support each other with tenderness. Let's hold space for one another with compassion. Trigger warning. There will be mention of abuse, domestic abuse, and gender-based violence. We understand that some of these topics are sensitive and activating. Please take care of yourself. If you need to step away at any point, you're welcome to do so. You are encouraged to prioritize your well-being. You're also free to leave and return. Use this space as an informal lounge. I know it's virtual, and just be. Okay, so let's introduce our speakers for today. We're honored to welcome a group of powerful voices who are each bringing their wisdom, care, and heart to this space. Our guest speakers are advocates and healers who hold deep understanding of what it means to reclaim joy after trauma, particularly as Black migrants, women, and queer individuals. Our keynote speaker today is Maud Goba. She'll be opening us with a powerful reflection on framing joy as radical acts of survival and love. Maud is a long-standing advocate for LGBTQ plus asylum seekers and a fierce champion of dignity, safety, and community. So we're honored to have her with us today. Afterwards, Victoria Eda, an endoscopy nurse practitioner whose care extends far beyond the clinic and has a deep understanding of physical and emotional resilience, will be leading us in intention setting and affirmations. She'll be grounding us in clarity and reminding us that choosing joy is both a right and a radical act. That will be followed by Dr. Oluwatobi Awoyemi, a Nigerian British GP who has a deep commitment to holistic well-being and is community-centered. He will be speaking on the theme, joy is not something I have to earn, it is mine to claim. His reflections will offer insight into reclaiming joy as a daily embodied practice, especially for those navigating life after trauma. In our space, we also have a trauma-informed practitioner who is going to be our healing space facilitator for today. After this introduction, she will be guiding us in a grounding and breath work exercise to start off. And then later, after Dr. Oluwatobi has had his time, she will come back again and lead us through a joyful mindfulness exercise, inviting us to explore the stillness, energy, and delight that joy can bring into our healing. Let's welcome them with gratitude. If you want to put emojis in the chat, if you want to put reactions, but let's welcome them. Welcome. And now I would pass on to Alex to start us off with the grounding exercise.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. So my name is Alex, and I would like to invite us to gently arrive together in this space. First of all, I'd like to say you've made it here, and that's all that matters. Now, if we can take a few moments together just to settle, land, and breathe. Now, however comfortable you may feel, you may want to do this on the floor while you're sat on your chair, or if you want to stand for this exercise, it's completely up to you. I'm going to start now. Okay, let's start by feeling our feet on the floor. All your 10 toes should be on the floor right now. I want you to notice the support beneath you. Maybe softening your shoulders a little bit, unclenching your jaws to release those tensions. I want you to rest your hands gently. There is nothing for you to hold right now, so just let your hands free. Wiggle your fingers if you need to. Before we breathe, let's focus on our 5 senses to bring us to the moment. What can you hear right now? Focus. What can you see? Focus. Now, what can you smell? Focus. I want you to taste your tongue. What can you taste? What is the taste in your mouth right now? And lastly, I want you to touch something around you and I want you to feel the sensation of it. Let go. Welcome. Now let's do a quick body scan. This one is going to require us to be in tune with our whole body, just like the five senses was able to. I want you to notice the top of your head. Just focus and notice the top of your head. It might seem impossible, but if you take the moment to really focus, you can notice the top of your head. Same way, I would like you to notice your face. You don't have to touch your face. Pay attention, focus, and notice your face. I know your neck and shoulders are probably tense right now. I want you to notice that. Relax your shoulders and your neck. Notice them. Your chest. This is the easiest one because you're breathing. So naturally, you should feel your chest. Your belly. Focus on your belly. Notice it. Now I want you to notice everything down to your legs, all the way to your feet. Focus. Great. Now that we've done that, I would like us to move on now to some breath work. We're going to do 3 deep breaths together. I want you to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Breathe out slowly through your mouth for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Now breathe in again for 4 seconds. 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Breathe out and hold it for 4 seconds. Thank you. You can relax now. Now, I want us to let this breath carry you or carry us into the next part of this gathering. I want you to know that you are safe here. You are held here. Let's keep moving gently together. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alex.
Yep.
Thank you. Maud, we're ready for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Blessing, and thank you, Alex. That helped me relax. I was a bit tense. I hope everyone can hear me okay,
Yeah.
because my internet is a bit funny, but I'm glad you can hear me. So I'll just start by thanking you for this space, and for the warm welcome and for the exercises, Alex. And obviously, I'm thankful for this space that is much needed. Really glad that I know about this space now. And to start, I think I would really like to honor people here, whether they're tuning in from to present or from a place of healing, survival, curiosity, or solidarity. Presence I always find is very, very powerful, especially in spaces like this. I'm always reminded that, healing is not linear and neither is joy, but joy in the smallest of moments is a very sacred and radical act. So I'll start by saying that I believe in naming the pain, right? Let's begin by telling the truth. Many of us is in this virtual room and outside, and those who might watch the video later carry trauma, trauma from abuse, trauma from displacement, traumas we might not know, racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, and much more, for Black migrant women and for queer people, some of our pain often feels inherited. It is sort of passed down like a secret we never agreed to keep, right? We carry it from our mothers, from our grandmothers, from our ancestors, or from spaces that we've engaged in and been in. And some of these pains we encounter through traumatic relationships in our journey through life, sometimes in our journey to other countries in search of safety for people who are refugees, or in search of, growth for those who migrate for work or migrate for different reasons. So we walk through this space and always carry trauma, pain, and different things. So we forget what joy is. We've survived homes that were not safe, systems even now that are not just to us. We've survived borders that are not kind, and relationships in every space, in terms of our borders, in terms of spaces we've been in this space we have relationships that often try and erase who we are. The world doesn't expect us to survive, it doesn't expect us to thrive, certainly. And for many of us in that space, in all this that we're going through, joy is certainly not offered. So I believe that we must be it. We must be joy. We must carve it out. Sometimes we have to wrestle for it. Sometimes we have to protect it. But often we have to live in joy. We have to look for joy. So when we have all these experiences, what does joy look like? Can we reframe joy? You know, this is why I believe that we have to be intentional about choosing joy. We have to be intentional in resisting narratives that are always making us believe that our worth is only in suffering, right? Joy has to be radical for us. It has to be a narrative we're disrupting. We have to say, I deserve joy. I deserve more. For me, for us, I believe it's saying my story is not only made of pain, it's not only made of suffering, it's not only made of my journey as a migrant and the challenges that I've experienced as a Black woman in the space that I work, in the space where I'm being educated, and in the pain that I've suffered in relationship. But it says, I am here and that matters. And I know my worth and that matters. So joy doesn't erase our trauma. We live with it. It reminds us that we are healing for joy. And we're living alongside joy and alongside our healing. It's not just survival. It's in the way that we laugh. It's in the way that we rest. It's in the way that we stay safe. It's in the way that we love. For many Black people, joy is a language we've always spoken, through our ancestors, through our cultures, through our food, through our music, through how we friendship. I always enjoy when I see Black people laughing, because it doesn't matter which culture you're from, where you're from. We always have this thing where I'm from Zimbabwe. When you're really, really laughing and you're in your joy, we kind of hit hands like a serious high five, but it's kind of harder, right? That is joy that we always find. We find joy through prayer, through our spiritual rights for those who engage in it. Even in exile, we bring this joy with us. So we mustn't forget that we have joy. It's a language that we always had and exists within us, and we have to remember it even when we struggle. So when we center joy, we reclaim ourselves, we reclaim our body, and we write new stories, new narratives, new beginnings, new endings. We always have to continue rewriting. So for myself as a Zimbabwean lesbian woman, and if someone who migrated, was a refugee and went through a long asylum process, I've loved, I've been through relationships. There are some that has worked, some that hasn't worked, and where I've gotten relationship trauma in those spaces. Certainly, sometimes I've forgotten what joy has felt like, after being displaced. I'm in this space where suddenly I realize that I'm the other. When I'm in Zimbabwe, I didn't even realize that, like I'm different, right? Because everybody's like me. But then I'm now in this space where I'm the other person, and I'm in a space where everything that should bring joy sometimes is not bringing joy. So I had to look for joy. I had to find joy through different spaces, through sisterhood, through resisting, through my work, through advocacy, family, friends, and through different spaces such as like UK Black Pride. When I'm there, it's every single year. I'm in so much joy when I see others like me, when I celebrate who I am, when I don't have to explain why I am a Christian. I don't have to explain my color. I am just laughing and in my joy. I also find joy in the littlest of moments, quiet mornings, music, soft moments, and different little things that I've learned to give to myself. And through that, I've come to understand that reclaiming joy is not just about all these different things. It's about, creating a life where I don't have to apologize for existing. It's creating a life where I don't like that narrative that Black women are strong, they are resilient, and we can go through all these things we are. But I also like existing within the softness and my strength in equal measure without having to have a story that is continually rooted in pain and suffering. I like to find my tribe. I like to remind myself often that I am in my worth. It's about also setting boundaries, honoring my truth, even when someone tries to silence me, especially in this world, this time. It's about remembering, always remembering who we are, our worth, and that we are worth that joy. So how do I practically do that? I have little strategies, and I'll share a few of them that I find powerful for myself and those I support within my space, within my tribe. I name my joy. That's number one. I keep a little journal, a joy journal, right? I write moments that always light me up, even if they're very small, things that make me giggle. Even with my social media, sometimes I make sure that I seek things that bring joy, change the algorithms because it teaches my body and my brain to remember goodness, especially at this time when the world doesn't really like people like us. I have to remind my body of the goodness. There's so much goodness in this world, there's so much joy. I set fierce boundaries, right? Joy cannot bloom where there is harm, right? So I have to protect my peace. So we have to protect our peace without shame, without guilt, without apologizing. No is just a full sentence. Just saying no. That's enough. There's also the need to connect with others that are famous, spaces like this. We have to build our chosen family. We have to seek out our community, our tribe. Healing can be communal. You want people who see you, right? And you see also your people. One thing that I'm new to that I'm not going to delve into, and I know others will, is about therapy. I've started therapy. I'm finding it helpful. I'm still learning because it's new to me. And I also allow myself pleasure. Yes, pleasure, whether it's food, it's in movement, art, touch, shopping, whatever it is that I like. I know that I deserve that. So I look for it and I allow myself it without feeling guilty. And I celebrate myself. I celebrate milestones, celebrate big or small. Survival is sacred. Our growth is always valid. So it is honoring that in our worth. I think in conclusion, I always want to think, what would the future look like for people like us? What would it look like to raise a generation of Black women, of Black queer people who know that joy wasn't a reward, who don't have to experience suffering and finding joy through that, but who just knew that joy was a right? What if our healing wasn't just about surviving violence, but it was about dismantling them so joy becomes more accessible, not exceptional, that we don't have to work hard. We live in our joy. What if we stopped waiting to be healed enough? What does being healed enough look like? What if we learn to just live within the joy and let that joy be part of our healing? Things have happened. We're here now. We're healing. How do we let that joy be part of our healing? I believe that this is the world we must imagine. And it's a world that we can build for ourselves. We can build for our tribe. We can build together with our tribe. I'll try to keep to time because I can talk forever. But in closing, I just want to add that often we're made to feel that we're broken. We're not broken. We've experienced experiences that make us feel like we're broken. We're always becoming. We're always growing. We're not our traumas. We are not our experiences of this migration, of difference of others in our country. We deserving of joy. And our joy at the moment is revolutionary. So I want to say that, I see you and I honor you and I celebrate the joy that is within you, the joy that you live and celebrate. And I celebrate the joy that you survived. And I celebrate the joy that is to come. So thank you very much for giving me this space to talk.
Thank you
Very
so much,
into it.
Maud.
No
Very
problem.
much.
That was very enriching. Before I allow the next speaker, I just wanted to say that I have actually nourished my journal. And one thing that I have written that stands out for me is that we are not broken and that we deserve joy. Another thing is that joy cannot bloom where there is harm. So setting boundaries and saying no to things that we're not okay with is definitely something I personally am going to be doing more of. So thank you again, Maud, for that. We're going to invite Victoria Eda now to carry on with the next session.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Eda. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you for having me on this broadcast. I truly appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak today. It's an honor to be part of this conversation. So I would like to talk about intentions. But before I start to dive into intentions, first of all, before you talk about a solution to something, you have to really identify what the problem is. So the first thing you do is acknowledging you've had a trauma. So if you don't know that you're traumatized or you had a trauma, you'll not be able to walk past it, look for help, and to heal. It's one of the most powerful and tender acts of self-awareness. It takes a lot of strength for you to do it and to recognize that you've gone through trauma. Something happened to me, or I feel hurt. I'm allowed to say it out loud. I went through something hard and it affected me, or I went through a toxic relationship. I went through abuse or loss or betrayal. So all these things happen. We cannot control it as we go in life. There are things that happen, well, and sometimes we are victims of trauma, abuse, but for us to identify it is very important. So, secondly, I'll talk about cutting ties with trauma. So it's very important that you cut ties with trauma. So anything costing you your peace, your joy, you need to cut ties with it. So you have to cut contact, you have to distance yourself from toxic people, toxic environment, stop revisiting your triggers, say no without guilt, and you have to set boundaries. Anything that is causing your sanity, that is making you angered, in pain, you need to cut ties with those things. So that's why it's good to set boundaries. And also, some people don't know that they have trauma. I'll just go list some type of trauma as a medical personnel, things we've observed in the medical settings that are really common with victims of trauma. Sometimes they're numb to pain. They've been traumatized to the extent that they don't feel pain anymore. Also, we detach ourselves from the reality, from the outside world. Also, we shut down. We also have anger, sometimes fear, and you feel like this should not be happening to me. Why is it happening to me? I'm so unfortunate. So that anger, that resentment is there. And also sometimes we have like anxiety. We're always anxious. And also we have uncontrolled mood swing, unhealthy eating habits, crying spells. We are always triggered, feeling at the edge. And also sometimes it affects our sleep. Insomnia, we're not able to sleep all through the night. Panic attack. There's so many examples of even when your heart could race very fast. Yeah. And you isolate yourself from your family, your friends, your loved ones. Sometimes we're even people pleasing because we want the world to like us. So anything anybody says, we want to please them, even when it's not right for us, we're not okay with it. We always want to say yes. And also when survivor mood, we also neglect ourselves. So those beautiful things we like doing, like pampering yourself, your skincare, your nails, we just say, okay, fine, I'm not doing any of that anymore. I don't care. It's not worth it. So those are the signs of trauma. Now, I always want to tell people to give themselves enough grace. You've gone through a process, you've gone through pain. You have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself time to heal. And I will bring in intention, where intention plays into this is very important. We have to be intentional about ourselves. And so I would say we should keep the positive side, words of affirmation. Every day, you stand in the mirror, look at yourself and say, I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am enough. I am worthy of peace. I've survived 100% of my hardest days and I'm still standing. So those are intentional words. Take sticky notes on your fridge. You can stick them out there in your room. Make nice, cute frames with words of affirmation. Also on your banking app, you can, like your welcoming message, you can put that. I'm just trying to let you know how intentional you can be about yourself. These little things matters a lot. And the most important one you should always tell yourself is that I don't have to earn rest, joy, or kindness. I deserve it. You deserve every good thing in life because you were created in the image of God. So you should prophesy that into your life. And also, I will talk about reclaiming your power. So allow yourself to heal at your own pace. So you need to connect with safe space, connection with people that have shared the same similar situation with you. Talk to a trustworthy friend. I know the world is so bad now that when you tell people your struggles, your problem, they judge you, they castigate you, they just stigmatize you. They don't want to have anything to do with you. But ability for you to, I know there are still good people out there that you can share, that they're able to talk with you about whatever you're going through. And also spend time with people who make you feel heard, safe, and seen. It is very important. Cut all those toxicity, those negative people in your life. You owe them no explanation. You need to cut them off immediately. And another way is to join good support groups like therapy and join Beautiful Respite. That's why we're here for you. So you can send us a DM and we're always here to listen to you and to message you and to help to provide solutions as well. Okay, so talk to people that are ready to support you. Go into therapy. We Black people, we don't like therapy because we think that there's a stigma that comes with it. Oh, once you're going into therapy means you're sick or you're insane. No, you're not. You need therapy to heal, to offload, to help you to recognize that, oh, my body has gone through stress. So it is very important, very, very important. Okay. And also I'll talk about joyful distractions. And also as little as planting a flower and playing games, cooking, doing things you love to do, your sports, your favorite sports, gardening, reading of light books. So one thing I used to distract myself is I like going on Instagram to follow those comedy pages. So I just laugh and laugh when I'm stressed. Another way I used to ease off when I'm anxious is, okay, I just take a topic online and I put it on my WhatsApp or my social media and I tell people, just comment, talk about it, let's rant. So it helps me to really ease off. And also you can listen to podcasts, follow your mentors, talk shows, drawing, painting, even yoga, music, exercises are very important. You see, when you do all these things, it just buys time. Before you know, you're already healing. You stop feeling that pain and that anger in you. And also, I want to talk about setting tiny joy goals. You need to be intentional. So what I mean is, do not only celebrate your big wins, you need to celebrate your small wins. As little as completing a step, like maybe you walked today and it was 10,000 steps, you were able to complete it, celebrate it. Even sitting in the sun for 10 minutes, celebrate it. Decluttering your house, maybe you have lots of things to organize in your journal and you're able to achieve it. Please celebrate it. Going to the gym, meeting goals. Please always celebrate little things, and it gives room for more big things to come. You see, it shows like gratitude. So that's how it starts. That's how you set the pace. So please, I want, trauma is something we haven't planned to happen. It just happened. And just know that you've given yourself, you're a strong person. You're here today because when these things happen, you were able to pick yourself up. So you can do it. You can actually do it. Just surround yourself with good people. And conclusion, I'll just like to round up what I said. I just want you to be patient with yourself. Healing doesn't mean that you're forgetting about what has happened or the trauma. It's just like you're learning how to live again without being weighed down by the pain. And also it helps just guide your healing. You're in control. It's just like you prophesying to the universe to say that this is where I want to go. This is how I want it to be. So today, I want everyone that has been through trauma to focus on the future. You see, before you know, you reclaim joy. You meet good people. If it's relationship problems, abuse, whether people don't know your worth, if they treated you in some kind of way, I know one day you're going to meet someone that really appreciates you, love you, and care for you. And that's it. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Before I allow Dr. Oluwatobi, I just want to say, oh gosh, my journal today. Honestly, I have definitely gotten some petals of positivity, cutting ties with contacts that, have caused trauma is something that has stood out for me. And when you talked about joining support groups, that promote positivity, where we can have a safe space and community, that is why we have Beautiful Respite. And towards the end, I will be sharing more about our plans for the future. So thank you again, Victoria. I would allow
You're welcome.
you to carry on now.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me all?
Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Like Victoria said, it's really great to be part of such a conversation. When Blessing asked me to do a session on this, I was like, my God, this is such a topic that is close to my heart. And, I feel very honored. Thank you very much, Victoria, who spoke before me. And that was really powerful. I would just like to start by reintroducing myself. Because for me, trauma, all the things I have been through personally, who I am is a product of that. So I like to name everything that I'm coming from because it's really powerful to who I am today. So first of all, my name is Oluwatobi Awoyemi. I go by the pronouns he and him. I am a Nigerian gay man living here in the UK. I am a medical doctor. I am a father. I am a divorcee. I would like to give you a little bit background about myself, just so that we can understand better when I talk about what joy means to me and how I see it, and at what point I needed to have a narrative shift regarding joy. A brief background about me. I grew up in Nigeria and I moved to the UK about 7 years ago. When I arrived there, I used to be a closeted gay man. I got into a relationship with a woman. I got married, and I have a daughter. And for many years, I lived in a straight relationship, a relationship with a woman, because I was living a lie. I decided that maybe I can just carry my life on being being straight, quote and unquote, and maybe things would just get better for myself. In that relationship or in that marriage, I experienced the worst part of my life in terms of my mental health. My mental health deep dived. I became very low and depressed. And then eventually the details is quite, long and protracted. But what happened next is that I got to a point in my life where I decided that I need to come out with my sexuality and I need to come out to the world. Because the years that I have lived as a closeted gay man has caused so much damage to my mental health and all the stress and anxiety I lived through, that it was just no brainer. I couldn't carry on living my life like that. And then I had to go through the pain of a divorce, and then I had to go through the the pain of coming out to family and breaking dear relationships and needing to face the world, really, that this is who I am, needing to face my church, needing to face my ex-wife's family and all of that thing and all of those things. So in that background, you can see that although that was a quick run through, there is a lot of different pockets of places where trauma has sat in. The trauma of living gay in Nigeria, the trauma of being closeted, getting married, living that life, coming out of that, going through a divorce, having, getting, coming out. So all of that leaves a story on yourself that it might be quite difficult for a lot of people to process that. Joy has always then been for me something that I felt like is coming. Joy is coming. When I was living in Nigeria, I felt maybe if I left Nigeria, then I will be happy. Then I left Nigeria and I was like, oh my God, maybe if I just got into a marriage and then everybody is happy around me and my family feels like I'm doing what I need to do, maybe I will be happy. Then I did that. And then I was like, oh my God, maybe if I need to come out of this, maybe I will be happy. And there was always this feeling that I needed to get to a point where joy will begin. And on reflection and from unpacking quite a lot of things in my life, I've come to realize that I think also is quite historical, because growing up for me, it was always, you will get this type of treatment from your parents if you get good grades. So I always felt like I needed to earn something. If you do this, this will happen for you. So there's always that mentality that before you can experience joy, you need to work and you need to go through some level of suffering, if you may. And that is the only way, because who will offer you joy? Who will just come and say joy? Or how will joy just arrive if you have not done something to really, work for it? So I think what I've been through and my historical ideologies about joy really puts me in a place at some point in my life where I had to sit down and kind of restructure what this joy is. Because with that kind of mentality, I'm sorry to say that joy will never come. It would never, ever come, because there will always be that the grass will be greener on the other side mentality when you feel like, oh, okay, this is nice, but maybe. And for me, I had to do a reframe of joy as part of my process. That joy isn't a destination. Joy isn't something that is further down the line. If I can just tick these boxes, if I can just go through this pain and this trauma, if I can just heal a little bit more, if I can go to therapy, then joy will come. Oh, therapy. People talk about it. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. And then joy will come. I spent thousands of pounds in therapy, and I realized that helped, but I still have this feeling. Maybe when I begin to implement these things, then joy will come. But after some time, I needed to stop and sit and think about what joy means to me. And when I speak to patients in motivational interviews and things like that, I try to sell the idea of joy as something else entirely. Because what if joy, like I said, isn't a destination? What if joy is that thread that actually ties all the broken pieces of you together and brings it together? What if it's not a destination? What if it's actually the missing part of the healing process? What if it's actually the missing part of the puzzle that needs to be done together? What if I'm supposed to be enjoying joy just by the very nature of the fact that I am healing and I'm going through life and healing from all this trauma? So at a point in my life, I needed to, a couple of years ago, I wrote a couple of mantras for everything in my life. At the moment, there is no aspect of my life where I've not really had to sit down to look at it. And that was when Blessing told me about this topic. I was like, this is so easy. I pulled out my mantra for joy and I was like, I'm going to share it. And I think joy also is very personalized. The previous speakers have spoken about, simple things, simple joys, going on Instagram, doing this, that although somebody else might say, oh, going on Instagram can trigger your anxiety. Well, for you, but for me, this is part of my joy, my little joy. So I think joy is a very personalized thing. It does not exist somewhere in the ether. Okay, you will never arrive at it if you don't change a mindset towards what joy is. And the first one for me was that I do not need to work for my joy. And joy is not a reward. There are four of them all together. Joy is not a reward. So I've decided that I am going to experience joy because it is not part of a process. It is actually the process. And I would not give myself the feeling that something has to change for me to experience joy really. I also needed to think that about what my own joy means to me. And I found that my joy is political as well. Apart from the fact that joy is for me is not a reward, I need to remind myself that joy is political. It's defiance. Is that I went through this, I went through that, and went through that, but you did not break me. I went through all of this system that was made to make me shrink, but you did not break me. I went through religion, the church excommunicating me and removing me from spaces where I used to be, but you did not break me. You see, I came out to family who abandoned and rejected me, but you did not break me. So I show up with my joy in a political way to let you see that you have no power over my joy because it is not an external thing. I've come to realize that joy is not something that someone from the external can influence if you really understand it. So for me, I show up and I said, how can I show up in a way that will show that my joy is actually also from the inside? It's political for me. And and then I've gone to fashion my joy in so many ways. And I started like an Instagram account where I share my personal stories, but in a joyful way. I show that these are the problems, but these are the joy that shows that you can get from it. I showed the world that queer people are human beings. We are the same people you've always loved. Okay, but you are the problem. You need a mindset shift. So doing that for me brings me joy. It brings me joy to know that my story is motivating somebody else. That is a very political aspect of my joy. So for me, that is my joy. Another part of my joy is the fact that I don't need permission, because sometimes we find that it almost feels like we want people to see us and our struggles, like, oh, bless you. You've been through a lot. You really deserve to then now relax. No. I'm just going to be happy. It doesn't really matter who sees it or not. Even if nobody has heard of my story, I'm not going to wait for anybody's permission to that, you have been through a lot, therefore, you understand, you have gone through all of this, therefore you deserve to now be happy. So, and I think that is a very salient point for me, because we do it in a very unconscious way. I remember I was talking to my mom, and she said, because me and my mom, a typical African woman, when you're talking about queerness and homosexuality, it's always a very tricky conversation in the house. And one day she said, well, now that you explained all the things you've been through to me, I think you deserve the happiness that you have now. And I said, well, I think even if I didn't explain it to you, I still deserve it. And you should have just understood that. So I'm not really here for you to allow me to now be happy, because I actually don't need your permission. The explanation was me just carrying you through with my life and stuff. So when we stop waiting for people to allow us, to give us permission to to exist, and it's easy to say, but it's very sometimes difficult to do as well, because we seek validation from our oppressors in very salient ways. It's like, let me just show a little bit of myself. Is that okay by you? Okay, so I can do more. I'm going to just say a little bit, and I'll feel the pulse of my oppressors to see if that's fine by them. So, okay, the way I show up. I remember when I came out with my sexuality, and some family members then went, okay, we understand you are gay, but don't then put it on social media. Excuse me? Like, what does that even mean? Oh, we understand you are gay, but don't talk about this, don't talk about this. Well, no, you understand? I'm not going to limit my joy in a way that makes you comfortable, because I don't need your permission. So I took back the permission I've asked from people for so many years, and I've decided, you know what? I'm just going to do me, and I'm going to live very happily. And the last one was for me is that I am not going to outsource my joy. And outsourcing joy means that you have taken your ability to experience joy and you've outsourced it to trauma. And that means that you will only experience joy if it's trauma related. You understand? So you would experience you only experience joy because you've been through hard times. That is the only way you would feel like you are deserving or you've achieved the joy. So joy does not exist unless there is a difficult situation that comes in for you to then come out the other side. And that is what I call outsourcing my joy. And it shows up in a lot of different ways. In any circumstance where I feel that something must happen to me or something must happen again before it would then make sense for me to be happy or for me to show up like myself and the way I want to show up. So I think outsourcing our joys is also one I kind of wrote down for me. So it was knowing that joy is not a reward, knowing that for me, joy is political based on my background, knowing that I don't need permission from anybody regarding my joy, and being very conscious not to outsource it. And the title for this session is that joy is not something you earn and something you have to claim. And I thought that was really strong, because earning, is something you work for and something you've actually done some kind of effort, like a salary. But claim is something that was just sitting there. You have rebates from the government, you have some insurance claim, something that is actually yours. However, you have to take it, because no one is going to offer you happiness or joy, no matter what the trauma you've been through. Your oppressors will always want to oppress you because that's their only job. In whatever narrative that we've come from, if it's from domestic abuse, even after you've left the situation, it is deep down in the abuser that you are suffering. The idea is that I hope you are still suffering where you are. It is, if it's from a sexuality point of view, the world doesn't want you to actually be. So in any chance that the world gets, they try to remind you or try to pull you back just ever so slightly in whatever situation it is. And one has to remember that claiming joy is a very intentional thing. It's a very personal thing. And it has to be something that is in line with your life. It has to be documented if you want to be that intentional about it, just so that you can remind yourself. And sometimes you need to go back to what you've written or your mantras to say, oh, wait a minute, what is going on in myself at this moment? Why is it that I'm struggling to experience joy? Why is it that I'm struggling to be happy? Like something is not right. And then when you can go back to the mantras you have, you ask your question is, am I feeling like something needs to happen before I'm happy? Do I feel like I'm asking for permission from someone? Do I feel like I'm outsourcing my joy and hinging it on something else? And then you can ask yourself those questions back. And when you find something that contradicts your mantras, you will quickly be able to solve it and say, okay, this then are the steps that I am going to take. Reclaiming joy after trauma is, although I recognize it can be quite, it sounds very nice and whimsical, like trauma has happened and reclaiming it, and we're just going to have a great time reclaiming it. I also think, I think it was the first speaker, I think it was Mood, that's mentioned something about that, is naming the pain, naming the things that you've been through. Because sometimes the problem is if you don't know where, if you don't know where the rat in your house is, the mother rat, and she's giving birth to little rats, and that's all you are seeing, the problem is that you can never really solve the problem. Because if you don't know the source of the source of the problem, why is it that you are the way you are and you can't experience joy and happiness? If you don't even know what you've been through, then I think this is a different level of problem. And sometimes one needs to, I mean, for me personally, it took me quite a long time to really acknowledge my journey and everything. I've just kind of taken it in my life that, well, this is just how life is. People grow up in Nigeria, in homophobic countries, and and they get to a country where they can be themselves and it's great. Well, no, there's a lot of things that go on in there. There's a lot of things that you've been through. You've suppressed things in yourself for many years that has translated into anxiety and depression. That is where it's coming from. You're unable to love people in your current relationship because you have never been able to experience the kind of love you want. You've not been able to fuel that kind of love. You've not grown. Therefore, at this moment, you're having problems to engage with healthy relationships. You have to know where it's coming from to be able to sort it. If you've been through a divorce, a traumatic divorce, you have to recognize that these things I've been through has really left me with a lot of scars. And you have to list the scars. It has made me feel like I'm not good enough. It has made me feel like you have to really break it down and identify it. Coming out, what has this what has it actually done to me? Because when people hear the word coming out, it sounds like a release, like, wow. But really, when people come out, you have to actually sit down and see what this has done to you. You understand what relationships have been broken? What part of yourself that you have always hidden for many years are you then trying to open up? What wounds are, you have to sit down with the things that have happened to you and not just make it quite vague in one big chunk, one word that describes it. Domestic abuse, divorce, this. No, you have to break it down. And therefore, you will then understand this. You have a better relationship with it that is the beginning of where you can then begin to rebuild what joy means for you from a very elemental level and make your own tailored care plan. As I say, make your tailored care plan for your joy, such that when you begin to get into moments where you're not feeling joyful, you're not feeling happy, you're not quite sure, maybe it's down to things that have happened that you recognize, you come back to your joy care plan and see, oh, this is where I am. Because when I'm not feeling great, I look at, and you can have a flow of it as opposed to just leaving your joy in the hands of chance and the British weather and anything, you see, you have to always make sure that you are in charge of your own joy, and you have to make sure you're in charge of your own joy, and you actually have to look after it. Like the same way you look after a child, you have to look after your joy. I think that's everything I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oluwatobi. I want to actually thank you for being very vulnerable with us and sharing your personal experience. That was very powerful and refreshing. And I have taken this special message and I have also added to my journal some things that joy is personal to me and it's not a reward. It's not something I have to work for and I do not need anybody's permission to have that joy. And just like the other speakers, Maud and Victoria mentioned about acknowledging our trauma, it's okay to say it out loud that, I've been through this experience. And I'm not broken. It doesn't mean that my traumas define me. So thank you again, Oluwatobi, for
Thank you very
that.
much for having me.
Okay, we would now have Alex to take us through the mindfulness exercise.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, guys, for all your insights. It's been quite interesting hearing from you guys. From a therapist perspective, I feel like you guys really do understand the basics of trauma and obviously overcoming them. But I just want to applaud all of you for obviously going through your trauma and being able to kind of like mitigate past that. And obviously, I think somebody mentioned, I can't remember now, somebody said it's a process. So it's not like a complete journey, it's a process. We are still becoming. I think this is Mahout that said that. And that's what joy is basically. So you guys, I hope that going forward, you're going to continue to be becoming basically into your joy. Anyway, I get excited when I know that people are actually taking their joy seriously and obviously being able to identify their traumas and how to kind of like move on past that. Well, anyway, before I talk too much, I shall just go on to say my thank yous, Blessing, for inviting me to this session today. It's quite interesting, a bit more than I thought it was going to be. And I'm so happy that you invited me. I can take a lot of things away from this session as well. Also, thanks all of you for showing up today, for showing up in this space with courage, with openness, and, with your full selves. And just as Blessing has said earlier, I will be taking through to the next closing part of the session with, some mindfulness techniques. I find it easier to close my eyes and obviously not be on cam because I get excited and I find it hard to focus. So I'm going to go off camera and you guys can come through this process with me. Okay.
Okay, Alex.
Okay. Actually, what I wanted to mention earlier is also a little therapeutic reflection. I wanted to say that we spent some time together talking about joy. And it's not the loud kind of joy, not the dancing kind of joy, not the laughing kind of joy, but the kind that is quiet. For those of us who have lived through trauma or grief, joy can feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. But that doesn't mean that joy isn't something we can. But does that mean, sorry, that joy is something we have to earn, which is quite the theme for today's topic, really. Again, joy is a regulation. It's important that we understand that joy is remembering that we have a body and that our body can feel something soft. It doesn't have to go through trauma all the time, it doesn't have to go through hardship all the time. Oh, yeah, oh, I'm Brazilian, I'm a Black, strong woman, or I can go through the pain. No, joy does not have to be that. Even if it's just for a moment, softness is beautiful, softness is joyful. So, with that being said, let's close, like I said earlier, with a gentle mindfulness practice. This is just a space for us to just be, really. So, with me, again, find a comfortable position. If you want to stand, if you want to sit, if you want to lie down, it's completely up to you. Whatever feels okay. You can gently close your eyes if you want, or just focus your gaze on one still point if that's easier for you. Once more, let's take a moment to notice the weight of our body. I want you to literally focus on your body weight, not right now, on your chair or on the ground. How does it feel? Now, I want you to gently notice the rhythm of your breathing. Just take a moment to notice that breathing. We are not changing anything at the moment. We're just noticing the inhale and the exhale, the inhale and the exhale. Now, we will begin to deepen our breath now, slowly, softly, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Let's do that again, softly and slowly through the nose and a soft release out. Great job, guys. One more time. Inhale through your nose softly and exhale. Nice. Now, I would like you to imagine that each inhale is an invitation. Every breath you take in is an invitation of joy, not the kind that shouts, but a quiet whisper of something beautiful, something soft, something warm, something fuzzy. As you breathe in, imagine welcoming in that softness. It could be a memory, a color, a sensation, or just a sense of possibility. And as you exhale, imagine letting go of what feels heavy in your heart, what your body doesn't need to hold on to this moment. Now breathe with me. Inhale, inviting joy, and exhale, releasing tension, negativity. Inhale once more, inviting joy, and exhale, releasing that drama. Anything that says I cannot have joy in my life, anything that requires me to explain joy, release it right now. Good job, guys. Now, for this next session, if you like, you can place your hand on your chest or on your belly. Just feel your own presence. Just feel you being there. Let your breath flow in and out naturally, in and out naturally. Breathe, and with that breath, repeat silently with me in your head. As you inhale, I want you to say, joy is welcome here. Joy is welcome here. Exhale, I am safe to feel. Say that with me. I am safe to feel when you exhale. Now, I want you to put it in your head now, and let's breathe together with this in our head. Inhale, joy is welcome here. Exhale, I am safe to feel. Good job. One more time, guys. Inhale, joy is welcome here. Exhale, I am safe to feel. Even if all you feel is stiffness right now, that's enough. That is enough. Even if all you can do is breathe right now, that is joy too. You are here, you are breathing. That is already a kind of healing. Now let's begin to return gently now. Take one final, most beautiful, most nourishing breath, maybe the deepest one you've taken today, and release with a soft sigh. You ready with me? Let's breathe this big one. Breathe in and woosah from your mouth. Good job, guys. Beautiful. You can wiggle your fingers and toes. Wiggle your fingers and toes with me. Stretch if you need to, just to bring you back to the moment. Good job. I see you blessing. I see you stretching. Good job. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes now or lift your gaze. Thank you, guys. I just want to say thank you for sharing this beautiful space with me. Thank you for breathing with me. Thank you for choosing to stay to the end of this session. As you leave today, I hope you carry this with you. You do not need a permission to feel joy. You don't need to explain to anyone why you need to be joyful. Your body is worthy of softness, and just you are enough just as you are. May you live with breath. May you live with ease. May you live with joy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for that, Alex. I do some mindfulness practices myself. I enjoy doing yoga in the morning, and I'm definitely going to be adding this inhale of joy is welcome here and exhale of I am safe to feel. So
Wonderful.
really powerful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
As we begin to wrap up this gathering, I would like to hear from you, those of us watching from Instagram, from TikTok, and even those of us here, the guest speakers. If you feel moved, please share how this event has been for you, and what you're taking away from this space. And anyone that has questions for our speakers or reflections that they would like to offer, this is the moment to connect, to affirm, and to honor your own voice. Take your time, no rush. While we are waiting to hear the comments, and if anyone wants to speak, they could just please put their hands up or indicate that they want to speak, and we will do that. I just wanted to share with us some resources and support that is available. First, please stay in our community. If you're not already following us, please follow us, Beautiful Respite, on Instagram, on TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Our handle is at Beautiful Respite. I said earlier that I want you to watch this space because we have something coming up soon. We will be announcing it, but just to give some insight, sneak peek, it will be a space where that will be peer-led, where we can do activities and practices that we choose. So it would not be something imposed on us. We will choose what we do in that space. The idea of that space is for community, for support, to have a space where we feel like we are a family and we can be without judgment. Okay. All right. Okay, sorry. Okay, our website is www.brcic.co.uk. You can get in touch with us, send us a DM on our social media, or write us an email. Our emails are connected to our social medias and can be found on our website. Other support outside of Beautiful Respite, I'm sure we all know this, but I would say it again, that in case of danger or emergency, please call 999 immediately. We've got support available in England by Women's Aid, and you can search more resources on their website as displayed on the screen. We also have Coventry Women's Aid for those in Coventry and the West Midlands. We have Micro Rainbow, we have African Rainbow Family, and we have House of Rainbow. Okay, do we have any questions, or does anyone want to share anything? This is your chance to do that. I can see some comments from Zoom, from Kaylee. Great content from all. Thank you. Thank you, Kaylee. Do we have any questions or comments from Instagram or from AK? Oh, there's one. I will just pull it up in a minute. If you give me a second, there's actually a question. Okay, there is an anonymous question for Dr. Toby, and the question says, I am a carer to a family member, and often my joy is validated in direct connection to the person I care for. Do you have any advice on the guilt that comes from being joyful on your own?
So can you just think, do you have it? What's the second part?
Okay, it says, do you have any advice on the guilt that comes with being joyful on your own?
All right, thank you. So the guilt that comes from being joyful on your own, I'm assuming that it means that when they are by themselves, they are joyful, but then they feel a bit guilty that they are able to, am I correct? That's what the question means. Yeah, from what I can hear. So I feel that joy needs to come from within. If there was no social media, if there were no friends, if there was no family, if you were left on an island somewhere in wherever, can you be happy? Can you unhinge your joy from external influences and people and what's not? So, I mean, as a carer, it's great that you can get joy from the people you care for and from the job you do, which is a great way because a lot of people don't get any joy from their jobs. So if you already get joy from that, I think that's great. First of all, you've set yourself up for kind of a long-term potential for joy, because if getting joy from what you do is actually a big part of your life, because that is the most likely the job you'll do forever. So if you can get joy from that, that is great. However, you should not limit your ability to find joy from external influences. As much as you find joy from work, don't then be a workaholic, which is very common in jobs like care. Don't then be a workaholic because that is the only place. Because there's a fine line between that being very good and that being very unhealthy. Because what happens, for example, if you become unwell, you become disabled, you have long-term disability, you can't do that job. Will you still be happy? So the guilt that comes from being happy alone, although it might sound like a very funny question, the truth is that sometimes I've been in times of my life when I've actually felt like guilty at the fact that I am quite happy where I've arrived to in my life, and I really don't need anybody. But then you then feel guilty that, oh, the way that I was brought up, it's in a family, extended family, you feel like everybody's interconnected, and your joy kind of depend on one another. And when you don't really need them, you feel like a little bit bad that this is not how your family dynamics work. However, I think that apart from your job, being able to find joy from within by yourself, automated joy, something that is self replenishing, self-fulfilling, personally, I think is the best kind of joy you can. And the guilt that you experience from it, you need to look at it and where is it coming from? Why have you hinged? Why do you feel like you having joy by yourself is making you feel guilty? Something is going on there that you might just need to have it. You need to home in on it and look at it, because there should be no guilt there. But if there is, then my advice, or how I see it, is that you need to actually sit with it, look at it, and figure out, wait a minute, if the point is joy and I can get it by myself, that's the easiest, most efficient, cost-effective, least stressful way to get it. So why is it that I'm experiencing this guilt? It will differ for everybody. I don't know who this person is, but they would need to sit with it by themselves or with help from a therapist that can help them look at that a little bit closer. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Alex is raising a hand. You're welcome to unmute yourself and go ahead, please.
All right, I'm just going to counter what Toby said. Spot on once again. And yes, with the whole therapist help seeking as well. If you were my client in session, for example, what I would have used to support you with the guilt would have been something called cognitive restructuring. This is where we try to understand where that sort of negative belief or feeling or negative thinking, those patterns is coming from. And then we can look at other ways to kind of like figure out evidence that support what you're saying or that is against what you're saying, and just try to have a balanced way of looking at what you're saying. Because right now you're telling yourself that you feel guilty not spending time. I mean, you're feeling guilty and feeling joy by yourself. Tell me something. So let me understand this, not judging, of course. You are working in a difficult field. You're caring for people, and you are one of the special ones that is able to find fulfillment in that. Do you not think that after a while you might not gain that fulfillment anymore, and you are now that? So after that, what happens to you? How do you get joy after that? At some point, you're going to have to sit down and be able to feel joy in by yourself. It's like a powerhouse, because if you don't have joy in yourself, how are you able to even give joy to other people or be around people who require joy on their day-to-day basis? You need to be okay. You need to feel comfortable replenishing joy by yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And don't forget that in this life, you are the main character in this movie. You need to be selfish. You need at the end of the day, this is your life. You are a priority. So whether you feel joy from other people or whatnot, which is beautiful, it's always nice to know that you're able to get that sort of joy from your job. But you need to focus on yourself at this point. Whatever guilt that is coming up in in the question of what you're feeling like you said, it it would be great. My advice, it would be great if you access therapy, because then we are able to look at the root causes that is causing you to feel like I'm not worthy of joy. Let's work with you. Let's change that. Let's challenge that thought, that thinking process. Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to be giving a lot of happiness or a lot of yourself to other people. Getting some joy back. It will never be the same joy you're able to get from yourself. It will never be the same. And I just hope that helps. If you feel comfortable, if you want to DM me and talk more about it, I'll be more than happy to help you. But while you're on the phone right now or on the computer, my advice is to download or to search for something called cognitive restructuring and see how that can really change the way you're seeing things right now. That's just how I'd say.
Thank you so much for that, Alex. Is there anything else that anyone else wanted to add before we carry on? I can't find any comments. Okay, so with that, I am going to say thank you deeply and truly for being here. Whether you spoke today, listened, breathed deeply, or simply held space with your presence, you were part of something powerful. This gathering was built with care and intention for Black migrant women and queer folks who have experienced harm. And it's your presence that makes the healing real. To our guest speakers, thank you for your wisdom, for your tenderness, and your generous offerings. To every participant, thank you for choosing to show up, even when joy and healing can feel like radical acts. This is not the end, it's a beginning, a return, a reminder that you are worthy of joy, you're allowed to rest, you're not alone. I hope that we leave here today feeling a little lighter, more held, and more free. With gratitude from the beautiful Respite team, I wish you all a good evening and happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.